and then to excel, because survival is the first order of business. And if we do survive, then we can think about how do we take advantage of various levels of leadership, both individually and organizationally, including the nations, so that we are safe and ready to tackle the challenges ahead of us. And in this difficult time, it is very important to have enlightened leadership at all levels. And as I mentioned, at the national level also, otherwise we will have a lot of difficulties. So let me begin to share the presentation at this point. And now the roadmap for today's presentation is we will begin with the importance of leadership versus the management to achieve the resilience in the context of change management. And the COVID has taught us that the unforeseen event can come upon us unplanned, and it's essentially a black swan event from the risk management perspective and project management perspective. It has come upon us. What do we do to remain resilient? Then I have prepared a couple of slides about importance of leadership during the COVID-19 pandemic, including results from various nations and some of the best performance, including Singapore, where things have been handled very positively. So we'll review that. And during the presentation, our goal is to share the leadership models, various models. And towards the end, I'll be sharing 3 of my models, and Dr. Deepak Waikar will share his one model, and we will have some discussion around that. As we go forward, we will focus on what is a roadmap for leadership excellence. I would be happy to share a couple of examples from the best-in-class organizations on what they do to create the leaders within the organization. And towards the end, we have one YouTube we will watch. This is a very motivational talk by the famous football coach from University of Notre Dame, Lou Holtz. And Dr. Waikar will come back in and talk about potential collaboration as we go forward with the University of Newcastle. As mentioned by Michelle, the question and answers, we will be requesting the participant to put in their questions in the chat box, and Professor Sally Chan will moderate the question and answer session, and we will continue to move forward. So let's begin with a beautiful quote from Lao Tzu, a 6th century Chinese philosopher. And the quote is very, very appropriate in all the time, and particularly this time during the pandemic. It says, a leader is best when people barely know he exists. And of course, long time ago, it was only he, but you have to substitute he/she. So leader is best when people barely know he or she exists. Not so good when people obey and acclaim him or her, and worst when they despise him or her. But of a good leader who talks little, when the work is done, aim fulfilled, people will say, we did this ourselves. So as you see, the real leaders are the ones who are staying in the background, providing all the resources to make their people very successful and achieve the objectives in the time frame given within the organization. So a lot of things we can learn from Lao Tzu. Now let's talk a little bit about the change management and what is the role of leadership versus the management. So as we all know, the leaders are the one who create the change. And when they want to create a change or a transformation journey, their presence is extremely crucial, and their role is 75 to 90% when they are present, the transformation or the change management will succeed. And what do? They provide overall direction and general planning. They try to align the people to take the transformation forward, and they definitely motivate and inspire people to be part of the transformation or the change journey and make it a success for the benefit of the organization. Now, we do need management, which is sort of a secondary role, 10 to 25%. And as we know, management brings the predictability and order. They do detailed planning and budgeting. They do organizing and staffing, and they control and do the problem solving. Now, there is a wonderful quote by Dr. Stephen Covey, a management think tank. He shows the difference between the effectiveness and efficiency. So management is efficiency in climbing the ladder of success, whereas leadership determines is the ladder leaning against the right wall. That is the effectiveness. So the guidance is we need to focus first on effectiveness, that's the leadership, do the right thing, and then the management will take over to do it the right way, that's the efficiency. If we go in the reverse order, we are going to do a definite harm to the organization by working on the wrong thing. So effectiveness first, efficiency comes next. Interesting contrast between a boss and a leader. So let's follow through the diagram here. Begin with the boss on the left side. As you see, the boss stands in front of the troops. And what the boss do, they drive the employees, and generally they drive them crazy. They depend on their own authority by creating fear among people. They are always saying, I. When something goes wrong, they start blaming the people and find a scapegoat. They know how to get things done, and they try to use people, take their credit for the work they have done, give them command and tell them go and do it. In contrast to that, let's move to the right side. And leader shown in the pink fish along with the blue fishes floating along and swimming along with the rest of the troop. So what do the leaders do? They coach their employees. They find out what are the strengths of each of the individual employees and allow them to use their strengths to achieve the objectives for the organization. They definitely depend on the goodwill of their people by creating enthusiasm, by saying, let's do it as a we together. When there is a breakdown, he or she will get involved in fixing the breakdown along with the team members, shows them how to get it done, continue to develop the people. And as you know, real leaders are the one who create more leaders, not just the followers. And they are the first one to give credit when something good happens. And best of all, they ask their employee for their opinion, which is so motivating. And they will say, let's go and get it done together. So I hope all of us can aspire to be a leader and a good leader by following some of the nice ideas on the right side of the graphics here. Now, a couple of slides on the leadership during COVID-19. So the guidance is we need to have both individual and organizational leadership in this very difficult time. So first we need to use the expert advice, having proper hygienic tips and washing the hands with soap and water, minimum 20 seconds at a time. When we come from outside into the house, apartment, etc. While in public, social distancing, minimum 6 feet distance should be maintained. Always wear face mask when we go out and use gloves as appropriate. And I follow all 4 items, and I only go out once every 2 weeks for essential for about an hour and a half. Other than that, I'm inside for the last 6 months in the house. Secondly, we need to develop healthy habits. So eat healthy foods to boost our immunity to fight the COVID if we do get it, unfortunately, at that point, and exercise regularly. So I walk 5 to 6 miles a day in the house. We have a long lobby. So after breakfast and after dinner in the evening, keep walking and do all the phone calls, all the planning and calls with the friends and professional colleagues. We have to make behavioral changes. That is, adjust to no or minimum social gatherings. Don't get trapped into those things. We can wait until the COVID threat is over, after the vaccines is delivered, and we get hopefully herd immunity. And big thing is, if you have small children or elderly people, then take care of them and definitely share in the house chores. So I'm a chemical engineer. I know one of the operation very well. That's the cleaning. So right after the dinner is over, my job starts to clean all the dishes, put it in the dishwasher, and take care of that so that my wife doesn't have to do all the work. And if I don't do that, I may not get the meal next time. Now, adjust to modern technological and workplace changes. And that is, we all have to get used to virtual meetings and virtual collaborations for the time being. And distance learning will accelerate, and this way become the way people learn throughout the world. And it opens up many more opportunities for the experts sitting any part of the world to deliver their knowledge and impart that knowledge to empower people everywhere in the world. Now, the next slide is very important. One second. So I was looking at the Johns Hopkins University COVID Resource Center data, the latest data as of this morning, 3 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time here in the US, that's in New York area time, 18th of October. The countries which have done well are listed in the order: Taiwan number 1, Singapore number 2, New Zealand number 3, South Korea, Japan, Australia. And the data shows the number of cases positive, deaths, case fatality, that is deaths divided by the cases. And the last column is deaths over deaths per 100,000 population for a given country. So Singapore has done very well. Taiwan is number 1. And the second half of this slide shows where the leaders, the team leadership has not done that well, with the Brazil at the top, followed by Spain, US, UK, Italy. And I've shown India with a large country with a large population, large population. There are many cases happening just behind the US. So the essence is that the 1, 2, and 3 in the top half of the slide, if you look at the leadership, the top leaders are all women. So the female leadership has done much better around the world compared to the male leadership in combating the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. So kudos to women leadership. And my general observation is that women are more rational. They take the time and they don't make rash decisions compared to men who get excited and they are taking a lot of rash decisions. So this is where I think the world have to move. And unfortunately, if you look at the Fortune 500 companies, less than 20% are women executives in the top level. That needs to change because overall, it should be at least 50-50 minimum or more, depending on the expertise of the people. So interesting set of data from the authoritative source, Johns Hopkins University. So congratulations to Singapore for managing this pandemic well. And Dr. Waikar told me that there are not many cases happening. And if anything happens, they are quarantined right away, isolated, and the effective management is done, so to make the citizens of Singapore very safe. In the interest of time, we will not play this YouTube, but when you see the recording, you can go to the link and play. This video itself has a number of great talents from the leadership. Now, I want to focus the attention on a number of great leaders from around the globe. And the idea is these are the leaders who have essentially given a lot to the society at the national level, at the international level, and some of them have given their life to make the society better. So we begin with the top left, Swami Vivekananda is the Indian monk who came to the United States and delivered his lecture on September 11, 1893 at the first Parliament of World Religion. And he made a proclamation that the religion of the West and the religion of the East, they all lead to the same direction. We have different path, but ultimate destination is same. And people fell in love with him. He established, after coming to India, a order of Ramakrishna Mission and Mutt, and there they are active in the social work as well as in the spiritual work. And over the last 30 years, we have been associated with them to get the eye care work done for 15 million blind people in India, and I'll talk about it shortly, under social responsibility versus leadership. Second one, Nelson Mandela. As we all know, he was in a solitary confinement for 27 years. When he was freed without bitterness, he collaborated with the white people in South Africa, and he became the first president of the African National Congress. A wonderful person, a great leader coming from Africa. Third, Abraham Lincoln, the president who comes from the state of Illinois, where Chicago belongs to in the US, is one of the most revered president in the United States. Now, during his time in the White House, the southern part of the US wanted to separate out from the northern part, and President Lincoln didn't want that situation at all. So a civil war broke out during his time as a president. He won the battle for the North, and Union remained intact. However, he paid price for it. He was shot dead in the theater where he was watching a play by a person from the southern part of US. Next, top right, Mahatma Gandhi, father of the nation from India, who, using the non-violence without lifting a single weapon, was able to get the Britishers out of India. And he also paid a price. He was shot at a point blank for his effort to have a conciliation between Hindus and Muslims. So Gandhi gave his own life to get the India independence from British people. At the bottom left, we have President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who became a president in 1932 during the Great Depression. So as we know, 1929 to 1939, there was a huge recession and financial institutions had crumbled. People did not have a food on the table. So he put together the new society, many social work programs to lift the people out of poverty and get them some work to do so they can bring the bread on the table. And the bottom right, President John F. Kennedy, the young president who excited the United States as a nation. And he had a very beautiful vision to put the man on the moon and get the man back within 10 years. During that vision, NASA created a mission to put the man on the moon, and Neil Armstrong landed on the moon within 8 years after that vision was proclaimed by the President John F. Kennedy. Of course, he did not get to live to see the vision fulfilled. He was also assassinated by a person here in the US. So, as we see, these are the great leaders who essentially gave the best they could to the nations, to the world, and left the world for a better place than before. A lot to learn from these great leaders. Now I'm going to be moving into various leadership models, and we begin with the first model from Dr. Stephen Covey. We heard his quote about the difference between the effectiveness and the efficiency. The first book he wrote was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the paradigm is shown here in the diagram, in which he says that individually, when we start out, we have to focus on 3 habits to master them. Habit 1 is to be proactive. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. And the habit 3 is put first thing first. So according to him, when we master these habits 1, 2, and 3, we move from dependence to independence. Then we come to workplace, begin to work with other people. Then 3 more habits needs to be mastered. Habit number 4, think win-win. Habit number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And habit number 6, synergize. When one masters these 3 additional habits, they achieve the public victory, and they are moving from independence to interdependence. As we all know, in the work situation in all domains, work gets done in the teams. So interdependence is extremely valuable. And the 7th habit is sharpen the saw, continue to do the work as you have been moving through habits 1 through 6. A beautiful message to achieve the effectiveness in everything we do, whether it's the professional setting or the personal setting. So people asked Dr. Covey that you talked about effectiveness, what about greatness? So he wrote the book, the last book he wrote before he passed away a couple of years ago for a sudden accident, falling off of a bicycle, and unfortunately he did not have the helmet on. So Dr. Covey wrote the book, last book called The 8th Habit. And the essence of the 8th habit is that you can go from effectiveness to greatness by listening to your inner voices and allow others to listen to their inner voices as well. And collectively, you build the greatness for the organization. Now, there are a couple of graphics, so we'll work through them. On the left side, there is a new age of civilization, which tells us that in the old time, it was hunting and gathering. Then we moved to the agriculture economy. In the year 1801, steam engine was invented in UK, and world was ushered into the industrial economy. And in the last 60 years, we have been in the knowledge economy, information economy, and currently we are all migrating to mobile economy. And hope is that we will ultimately get the wisdom, so not to continue to keep warring with others and have peace in the world stage. There's a whole person diagram shown which says that as an individual and as a leader, we need to engage our mind, spirit, body, and heart. And if we do that, we are going to be very effective in things we undertake. Now, how do you find your voice, inner voice? That you have to use your God-given births, the gifts given by the God, and then allow the others to find and express their voice by focusing on the vision, the discipline, the passion, and the conscious. And when you find everybody finds their voices, they can begin to address the chronic organization problems shown in the table on the left bottom by engaging their spirit, mind, body, and heart to remove all the pain points for the organization. And the last thing in the graphics on the right, the leaders have 4 roles to play. They do the pathfinding, modeling, empowering, and alignment. And empowerment means that leaders expect the followers to get the results, but at the same time, they give them flexibility to make changes as needed. It's not like you tell people, yes, you have to achieve something, but you have no flexibility to make any changes, then you can never achieve the right results. So it's more like you tie up people, the hands and feet, throw them in the ocean and tell them go swim. That is not going to work. They're definitely going to sink. So empowerment is misused in the world, around the world. Empowerment is a two-way street. You expect results, but allow them the flexibility and ability to make necessary changes to get the good results. We move to the next model. This is the tipping point leadership. And this is the work of William Bratton and his 25 years of public service working with the Boston Mass Transit, Boston Police Department, New York Mass Transit, and New York Police Department. So 25 years of public service in the public service unit. His life is written up by 2 faculty members from INSEAD, the Harvard of Europe, outside of Paris in France. And the model is described as a tipping point leadership. So the model says that based on the work of William Bratton, they have identified that in any and all organization, there will be 4 major hurdles which needs to be overcome in order to sustain the growth and functioning of the organization. So the first hurdle is in the early, kindly stay muted. In the early 1990s, the New York New York Railways, the mass transit, there was so much violence and so much robbery going on. So what he did, he asked all his managers not to come on the car, the railway, the subway, etc., the underground train to come to work. So when managers started riding the train, they realized firsthand how difficult the situation was for the public. So by putting people in front of the problem, you can overcome the cognitive hurdle. And that's the first step, to accept that there is an issue. And now we can work on tackling that issue to move in the right direction. The second major hurdle is the resource hurdle. So none of the organizations around the world have unlimited resources. So what happens is, he found out a very simple way. One of the precincts, there was a big narcotics or the drug issue. So he temporarily infused the large police force to tackle the problem. Once the issue was resolved, he dispersed that large force to next big issue. And this is how we can overcome the resource hurdle, because we will never get extra resources. We have to make the best use of current resources by optimizing and prioritizing the maximum impact work, biggest bang for the money. Third, motivation hurdle. He has 80 precincts in the state, in the New York City. And for every weekly meeting, he will allow 1 or 2 precinct captains who had done some great work achieving number of objectives and achieving the goals. He will allow them to present their success stories. So what he was doing, he was putting spotlight on people to motivate others, the peers. And that is other way, that's the best way to motivate members of the organization, by putting spotlight on people who have done great work, and others will sort of compete for coming to the next meeting and showing off their great work as well. The last hurdle is the political hurdle. Now, William Bratton was a very shrewd person. He figured out that in order to bring the crime down in the New York City, he came up with a simple formula that one strike and you are out. Either you commit a murder or steal a loaf of bread. For any crime, person has to be put behind the bar in the prison. So the prisons are managed by the legislative branch, and they got worried that there'll be so many people going behind the bars in the prison, and they do not have enough prison capacity. And of course, they cannot build the prison overnight. It takes 2 to 3 years to build the new building, etc. However, William Bratton kept the mayor, Rudy Giuliani, at that time on his side. He explained to the mayor. Mayor agreed that that's the right formula. We need to put it in practice and handle it for 1 year. And that, with the blessing from the mayor, William Bratton was able to put that formula, one strike and you are out. And lots of people went behind the bar. Somehow they managed the first year. And sure enough, second year beginning, the crime rate started coming down. And now, in the early 1990, New York was the murder capital of the world. Currently, it is one of the safe city in the US. And unfortunately, Chicago has that dubious distinction of being the murder capital of the world. So when leaders overcome these 4 hurdles, cognitive, resource, motivation, and political, they put the organization on a path of continuous improvement and sustainable growth. And that's what is needed in the current day and time. Next model I want to share is from a researcher from Stanford Graduate School of Business, Jim Collins. He wrote a number of books. I'm sharing one book here, the model from the book Good to Great. So what Jim Collins did, he studied well over 1,400 good companies and their financial performance. He tracked it over 40 years. And the companies which provided 300% better financial returns from 1985 to 2001, he put together a metaphor to put the right people on the bus, that is the disciplined people, allow them to do disciplined thinking, out of which they will identify 1 or 2 critical areas to focus on. They will take the discipline action, and that will build the greatness to last for the organization. Now in the US, I can give you a couple of examples. There's a Southwest Airlines, which is managed by the people. They are the most friendliest in the sky. They are the most profitable, not the United, not the American Airlines. And in the early years, they got lucky to have the fuel contracts done at a very low rate, and they were passing those savings to the customers, so they were the cheapest to fly. There is a pharmacy by name of Walgreens, which distributes the medication. They are also employee focused. They focus on employee more than the customers. At the India scene, the Tata Sons and Company, number of units of Tata Empire, they are also very much focused on building the greatness, and they have adopted the US Malcolm Baldrige Performance Excellence Award since 1994. And pre-COVID, the 100 units of the Tata Sons were having over 100 billion market capitalization, and they religiously focus on embracing the Baldrige Performance Excellence criteria to continuously improve all entities under Tata Sons. Now, Jim Collins wrote another article in the Harvard Business Review with the title Level 5 Leadership. So let's review what are those level 5 levels. So first level is you begin as a highly capable individual, and it's a progression. Then you become a contributing team member. Then you become a competent manager. then you become the effective leader. Still, you have not reached the level 5, according to Jim Collins through his research. And he says the level 5 executive has a combination of humility and will. By humility, he says that when something good happens in the organization, the leader will be the first to recognize everybody who contributed, to share the credit. And when something goes wrong, the leader will take the entire blame. Do not pass the blame to others. And by will means when the strategic direction is established, decisions are made, objectives are set. The leader will persist at all cost to achieve the results for the organization and not looking for personal limelight. So in his research, he found that out of Fortune 500 company, he could only find roughly 4% of the CEOs to reach that level 5 leadership. And one example he cited was a CEO of Kimberly-Clark Company, a paper goods, including the diapers for the babies. He was a lawyer by training, and he was diagnosed with a terminal cancer. He went to the board of directors and told them that give me a chance, I would like to take this Kimberly-Clark company to the great heights. He was truly a level 5 executive. He beat the odds of surviving the terminal cancer and took the company to the greater heights under his leadership. So level 5 executives are few and far in between, but if you have those, they are the one who will take essentially the organization to the greatest height, because they focus their energy in improving and sustaining the organization for great benefit rather than personal ego and personal publicity. Now I bring to you another one on Lincoln on Leadership. Now this book with the same title, Lincoln on Leadership, I came across, read it, and I picked up 15 key areas. Of course, we are not going to get into all of them, but some of the things highlighted in different colors, I'll go through those items. So as we talked about President Lincoln, he came from state of Illinois. He was in the White House. The Civil War broke out. And what happened was the northern colonies, the northern part of US was focused more on industrial production, and they did not have enough military power. Whereas southern part, which was because of the better climate, was more focused on agriculture, and they had better military power and militia with them. So the first job for the President Lincoln was to build up the army for the North. And when a new recruit joined the US Army, President will come out of the White House and meet and greet all the new recruits who were joining the army for the North to fight the Civil War on behalf of the North. So the lesson is, if we are a good leader, we don't need to sit in the ivory tower and give orders to the subordinates. We need to be circulating among our people at the ground level to find out how things are going, what are the issues, and remove the obstacle, etc. Now, item 3, Lincoln was excellent at persuasion, and he will never coerce anybody to come to a conclusion. Number 4 is the hallmark for Abraham Lincoln. He was known as an honest Abe because honesty and integrity were his trademarks. Now, he was leading by being led. He was truly a level 5 leader. He will share the credit when ideas work out and take the blame when things did not work out based on the decisions taken as the president. Item 11 is interesting. During the 2 years of Civil War, he kept firing the generals one after the other. So in the first 6-7 months, he fired about 7 to 8 generals. because people wanted a title, but they did not have the interest or the capacity to fight on behalf of the North. So, and that was due to split loyalty. Their relatives or friends were fighting on the southern side. They didn't want to take the weapons against them. Finally, came across General Grant, who was a great tactician and a strategist for war games, and he had the capacity to fight, and he made sure that the northern part of the US won the Civil War, southern part surrendered, and the Union remained intact. Now, of course, as we all know, President Lincoln was the master at the art of public speaking. If you do the Google search, the Gettysburg Address, that short 4.5-minute speech he gave at a cemetery to dedicate the lives of the soldiers who gave their own life to save the Union from breaking up. And he wrote that speech himself as a president and delivered it. This was not the primary speech. This was a secondary speech he gave. Somebody else was giving the main speech. But that is one of the best public speaking piece around the world. And the last item I want to share, President Lincoln was excellent at storytelling. So the leaders are great when they start telling story about the past or the history of the organization. They show the folklore, share the values, and where the organization is heading. People get motivated and excited when they hear their leaders sharing those items with the people. Now I'm going to segue into 3 of my models before Dr. Waikar will come and share his own model on leadership. So back in year 2000, I started my company called Business Excellence Inc. with the focus on creating a customer delight, employee engagement, process excellence, and enhance operational and financial performance. So the focus is, if you want to create excellence, we need ideas. Now, who will provide the ideas? It's not the buildings, not the machines, not the hardware, not the software. It is the people. So we need people to generate the ideas through brainstorming. Once those ideas are coalesced, you focus on 1 or 2 critical ideas to achieve the excellence. And that's where the team will take the actions. And when the actions are taken, the results needs to be reviewed. And when there are good results, we must celebrate as a team. And let me tell you, I'm a student of management and I teach for the last 27 years. One of the management lever, that is recognition and celebration, is rarely used properly. It is always underutilized. We need to be thinking about recognizing and celebrating the work of the people when they deliver the great results, because that is very motivating and that allows them to recharge their batteries and do wonderful things for the organization, and is extremely contagious. So recognition is an obligation of the leadership, and this level should be exercised more often so that people can benefit and they get more engaged and energized to help the organization. Next model I want to share is the short blog I wrote on LinkedIn back in 2014. So I'm sharing the economic value creation on the y-axis, empathy on the x-axis, and there are 4 quadrants. The top right quadrant is the servant leadership, where the focus is sacrifice and service. And you can only find very few people you can count on the fingertip, like Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Vivekananda, etc., who were the truly servant leaders. World is in need of these kind of servant leaders because they are the one who are not there for personal gain, personal publicity. They provide all the support and help needed to the people to empower them to achieve the objectives and allow them to reach greater heights. So their focus is essentially sacrifice and service. We shift to the top left quadrant, the value leadership, which is the C-suite, where their focus is on growth and profit only. Unfortunately, the C-level people generally are very much focused on value creation, but they are not having enough empathy for their people. And particularly in the Western world, they have a very short tenure. In 2 or 3 years, once they are appointed at the C level, if they cannot turn around the ship for the organization, they are asked to leave. Of course, they bail out with a golden parachute, but their focus is only on growth and profit and not much on empathy. Come to the bottom right, that is a knowledge leadership. That's where all the faculties who are joining in, Professor Sali and Professor Waikar and others who are teaching, including myself, our role is to focus on caring and sharing. And what do the educators do? They receive the rough diamonds, the students who enter the institution. They have all the capabilities and abilities, but they are not aware about it. So during the years of study at the university, the educators, the faculty, the professors keep polishing them and take away all the layers of ignorance, so they continue to open up and they are ready to shine when they join the world after getting the degree from the institution. And we focus on the bottom left. Here comes the bad news. The front and middle level management, which use the position leadership and misuse and play with the politics. The research shows that the people leave the organization when their direct line of management, front or first level or the second level management, do not work out well, taking care of the employees. Then employees are more likely to leave. So they have a critical role to play to engage with their employees and empower them to do the right thing rather than play the politics. Now, the other model, the third model I wanted to share is from the learner engagement model perspective. And this was developed based on my 27 years of teaching worldwide and crystallized during my first Fulbright Specialist project at my alma mater, IIT BHU in Varanasi, the northern city, northeast city of India. In 2018, I spent 10 days. A project was supported by the US Department of State. And I created a presentation called Create Magic in the Classroom for Students' Engagement. And how do we create the engagement? Here is the simple model. For the learners needs to be involved in their own learning. And when they learn something new, they need to focus on application of that learning. And once they apply that new learning, they should be open to share it with the colleagues. So if they are in the university setting with other students, if they are working in the field, in any domain, they need to share it with the professional colleagues. Do's and don'ts, what works, what doesn't work, so that everybody benefits. It's a simple but elegant model. Involve, learn, apply, and share. And let me tell you, when I teach in my business classes, quality management, supply chain, project management, risk management, etc., human resource management, I generally focus on 3 components. One is they need to read the state-of-the-art articles, summarize them and debate in the class the findings from the article. Secondly, they need to work on a project in a team setting, small teams, 4 to 5 people working together to work on a project, write up a project report and deliver the project report finding to the class. And the third, individual discussion board where a topic in resonance with the issue under consideration for that week will be put up on a discussion board. They provide their input and they have to respond to two of the classmates, and the thread needs to be continued. And my role as a faculty is to challenge them to think out of the box and continue to learn and expand based on the knowledge of each other. So peer learning is extremely important. So my point is, we need to be moving towards experiential learning, not the rote learning and taking lots of exams. Unfortunately, in India, we have a culture of exams and exams and exams, and I've given so many of them. And as a result, I'm coming up with this idea that if we don't focus on exams, we need to allow the students to shine by showing that they have understood the concept, foundation, and the basics. They're able to take those concepts and work on a project and deliver it with success. And that will empower them to tackle any real life challenges when they join the workforce. So this learner engagement model is quite relevant and is extremely important. And it is applicable both in the online as well as on-site setting or in the hybrid mode as well. Now, from the India Sanskrit, mother of all languages, there are 6 different definitions of teachers. So let me quickly review them. So the first one is the person who shares the information, is known as a adhyapak. Second one is the person who adds the knowledge along with the information. He or she graduates to a next level called upadhyay. Third, when a person starts sharing the skills, designation of acharya is given. When a person begins to share the insight as a faculty, they get a title of pandit. And then when they provide the visionary thinking, they become drishta. And ultimately, when they provide the wisdom, they attain the title of guru. And as a faculty, when I started, I was only sharing the information as a adhyapak. I've been moving on this journey to move from adhyapak to go towards guru. I've been at various levels on different topics. In certain areas for soft skills training, etc., I've moved almost to the point of wisdom. And I hope all the faculties who are listening in can continue to develop their discipline so that we can ultimately convey the wisdom to the audience, the students and the learners. There's a simple way to encapsulate what the teachers do. The faculties educate students by engaging, energizing, entertaining, and empowering them. And they use all of these in various combinations to make sure that the knowledge is transferred and is retained by the students. So at this point, let me invite Dr. Waikar to share his model on Leadership 5.0. Dr. Waikar.
Thank you very much, Professor Manu Varo ji, for that fantastic work done. You have shared most of the part, and now my job becomes much easier. I'm going to share with you the smart attributes of Leadership 5.0, which is very much relevant for the current COVID-19 and beyond that one. Okay, I'm calling it 5 warriors, Panch Pandav. In India, there is a very famous Mahabharata, all over, and some other countries also it is there. The five of them, 5 warriors, with the wisdom and guidance and from the Guru like Sri Krishna, they overcome the hundreds of Kauravas, 100 hurdles. Now we are in the same situation now, the COVID-19. And when I was traveling from Mumbai to Singapore on 25th of June, after the lockdown, I have seen in Mumbai airport hundreds of aircraft stranded. We landed in Singapore, hundreds of aircraft stranded. Now that is the impact we are seeing in on the business world, industry world. We are at the stranded. And therefore, to come out of this one, we definitely need a warrior type of mindset rather than just thinking about it. Now, all those models we have seen it, all of them have got wonderful ideas, but when it comes to implementation, we always face a challenge. And therefore, there is a need to regularly evolve such models. Now, in this model, what we found that at a leadership has to be a sustainable level of thinking. Rightly mentioned by Professor Manu Varo, sustainability is one of the key components. And obviously, to survive in this environment, we need to be driven by the market forces. Our current market forces are completely different than what used to be there pre-pandemic. We had to rethink almost every business, except few businesses like healthcare and maybe some of the essential commodities one. And for some reason, why the stock market is going up, we don't know. They are the only one which are thriving. All others are not doing very well. Okay, and even if you want to see rebound, V-shape, whatever, we will need that market-driven approach. And most important part of this is now accountability. Now, accountability at every level, not only at the bottom level or who is dealing with the customers, but as Professor Manu Varo has rightly mentioned, all the way up to the top leadership. That must be transparent also, well known. And leadership need to be resourceful. Now, there are always a concern about they tell you when you ask anything, oh, sorry, our resources are very limited one, and maybe we have no funds to fund your project. That is thinking, scarcity thinking. That is where the economists thrive. What we need is abundant thinking. Means resourcefulness is, hey, if it's a fantastic idea, if you can prove it, I will find the resources for make it happen. That is what leadership is, rather than saying, oh, sorry, we don't have funds. That is easier way out. We have got limited resources. We want to only focus on certain thing. Leadership will find out that, okay, something is very important, innovative, and we need that kind of out-of-box thinking in this COVID-19 one and beyond. Not the old way of thinking. Finding the resources for that is resourcefulness. And most important is transformative in nature. Okay. Rightly mentioned by various models, but I think now is the time we need to transform. What we need to transform, I think we first thing first for all organizations have to do is transform the job description. Okay, first thing first, that, as mentioned by Stephen Covey. Second important part is we know that now whenever such pandemic comes, we get stranded. And therefore, we need more decentralized one. Whatever rightly mentioned by Manu earlier one, decentralization means going towards the decentralization rather than centralized one. Somehow earlier we moved into more of centralized one, more power at the top. Now it has to be other way around, so that if something happens, the smaller units can work independently as SBUs. We have to rethink about your manufacturing process, everything, supply chain mechanism. Allow flexible working. That has to be part and parcel of it. We like it or not. That kind of transformation is needed. And we had to stop that old way of glorification, big celebration. Gone are those days. Now we have to be green celebration, lean celebration, clean celebrations. We have to bring in transformative, that kind of thing. So 5 warrior. Now we need to be in a warrior mode, 5 warrior mode. This is the first. Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Now, this one comes from the another one which we developed was based on the wisdom rightly mentioned by Manu Varo ji in his various models. Everybody is talking about it, wisdom. Now, if we somehow ask the question, what would have those which has got such a kind of wisdom in our, wherever in an organization, in a nation, in a global level also. What they would do, if such pandemic happens. That would completely change our thinking. Now, Navaratna stands for 9 jewels of the 9 extraordinary people in your organization. What they found that earlier, those who were successful, very, very successful emperors, okay, taken from the various parts of India at various times. And why they were successful? Because they had got wise people to advise them before they take decisions. Now, those attributes, when I studied those attributes, what were those attributes? And they were earlier, they were not only 9, there are more than that. But then I only selected those which are now, you will find it almost in every model. At the base of it, it must be strategic thinking. Because of globalization, we need to be a multicultural one. Accountable again comes. Yes, accountability must be fixed at every level. And they are great organizers. They're getting the people around them. Resilient part of it, okay? How we come out of any crisis rather than getting stranded and waiting for vaccine, okay? Something like that. It will take, till that time, a lot of things could happen. They have mastery of whatever work or specialty they have. That is why one person need not have all of these attributes. We need different attributes. And as similar to previous one, transformer, okay, they are transformers. They are change leaders, as mentioned by Professor Manu Varo. And obviously aspirational, how we come out of this and how we can think about the better world, better organization. And most importantly, they have a noble cause in their mind. And therefore, I agree with the Professor Vora's model also when he put that 4th quadrant, top quadrant with sacrifice and service. That is all encapsulated into this one. And obviously, now each of them can be explained in details. So this noble cause is extraordinary achievement. We know that, okay? Aspiration, dream, passion, I think that will come, pursuit of to achieve excellence. Now, in this case, achieve excellence, how to overcome this pandemic, COVID-19 and beyond, what we do about it. And I've given some examples about it. Mastery, everybody talk about, we have heard about passion, we have heard about the knowledge about the experts, outstanding skills, need to be a great organizer, okay? Because many a time we may be having many of them have got very nice vision, but vision is only a vision unless there is an action. If there is no action, vision stays on the dream level only. And that is what the importance of execution is. And strategic thinking, rather than just only tactical one. Strategies can overcome the challenges which may have been created by tactical decisions. Otherwise, we may be solving one problem, creating 10 other problems. And I know some management people thrive on that and get promoted, unfortunately. That is why accountability is very important. And in this globalized world, multicultural is one of the very important part. In every society, even if it is okay, every society has got differences. The leader must be able to understand that and bring everyone together for that. Accountability, I mentioned, must be high one. And resilience has to be now a part and parcel of each one of us now to face uncertain, volatile era, and able to bring the transformation. That is the one we are proposing it, which will definitely help us to the greater extent overcoming some of the challenges currently we are facing. Okay? Now, I'm not saying these are the only attributes, okay? There could be more also, but the proposed key attributes of Navratra concept for global leadership encapsulate emulating the wisdom of the past, that is what our experience comes in here. Experiential learning, Professor Manu Varo has mentioned. And nowadays they are talking about entrepreneurship spirit of the present. So we have to combine this one, okay? Wisdom and entrepreneurship spirit to prepare for the future. Now that is what these two models I have presented to you as a part of this webinar will help us in rethinking whatever we are doing. Okay? Yes, we have taken some steps. We are focusing on the new possibilities, and to overcome this, one of the pandemic we are facing now, once in century, wherein job losses are now tremendous one. What I am hearing from the research work is that only jobs that those who are able to do flexibly at home, they are only coming back. The regular jobs are almost vanish. And that is why I mentioned now we have to rethink about job description, decentralization. Okay? Otherwise, there will be heavy job losses it will create another problem. How to move them on the other things? I give back to now Professor Manu Varo for that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Deepak Waikar ji. Now, I want to share with you one of the very important slide. We call it a $64,000 slide. It's the roadmap for leadership excellence. So first of all, if you want to become a resilient leader, we need to be willing to become a leader first, requires personal commitment, involvement, and accountability. Now, in order to become a good leader, we need to have some feedback about our own behaviors. So what happens is we do certain things which can have bad impact on others unknowing to us because we are blindsided. So getting that feedback, which is gotten here for the management group by 360-degree feedback, where the strengths and weaknesses are determined, and doing that analysis, you focus on 2 areas of strength to maintain and 2 areas of improvement to focus on by creating a short-term and long-term plans, and take additional education and training by building up the skills and apply it. Continue to nurture yourself by changing the personal behavior and personal changes, and regularly evaluate your short-term and long-term plans. And when you make progress, take time to celebrate your success. A simple roadmap for achieving the leadership excellence for resilience. Now, I'm sharing with you the US Baldrige framework concept about the leadership, which is one of the 7 categories with the core competencies. We'll focus on few critical items that the leaders must develop: the vision, mission, and values, and provide the strategic direction. They should be big on teaching and enforcing ethics. They are the one very good at getting the best talent for the organization. We already talked about the obligation of leadership is to provide recognition. They lead the change, particularly during COVID time. They need to be the one taking in charge of the change. Very good at communication and focus on sustainability for the organization. Now, this is all about strategic planning. It says, I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. In other words, when the changes come upon us, technological, the regulatory changes, etc., and particularly the COVID has given us so much change, we need to rethink our strategic plan because the markets have changed, the workplace has changed, the whole world has changed. Unless you regroup and redo your strategic plan, you are not going to be successful because you are traveling on an old path, which will take you nowhere under the new situation. 2 great examples, best practices, one from Google, what they teach to become the effective boss, manager, leader. Focus on 6 things: mindset and values. They use the growth mindset work done by Professor Carol Dweck from Stanford University This is the focus is that the intelligence can be cultivated. So if you fail at something, it's not the end of the world. You can always regroup and continue to work on issues which can get the great value. Very much focus on building emotional intelligence by creating the sense of self-awareness. Transition to manager position, there are a lot of challenges and frustrations which are shared with the peers so that they learn from each other. Big focus on coaching with the target on active listening, asking open-ended questions, and giving the proper feedback consistently across the teams, both positive and area for improvement. And they've come up with a beautiful framework for decision making, where for new items, the manager think out loud and get the input from the employees, and then collectively they move on the right direction with the proper decisions. Now, this is one area where the execution discipline becomes extremely important. What sets successful CEOs apart? They do 4 things different compared to their counterpart. They decide with speed and conviction. They move at the right amount of speed for a given issue. They engage for actions. They first understand stakeholder priorities and achieve the results by engaging their employees. Third, they adapt proactively. No matter how much planning you do, there will not be playbook for all situations. So they should be ready to adapt. And last, delivering reliably by using the business management systems to achieve the performance for the stakeholders. Wonderful article from Harvard Business Review, how to become a great leader and successful one, having these 4 characteristics. Now I want to talk a little bit about leadership and social responsibility. So they say the leaders needs to have focus on social responsibility, giving back to the society. So in this domain, I have done 2 things at the personal level. One, India has 15 million blind people, 1 out of 3 in the world. So back in 1989, we started a foundation with the mission to prevent and cure blindness and educate and rehabilitate permanently blind people in India. Raised over $5 million to do the cataract operations, and 2 million people have benefited, adults and children, and that's the website. The Leadership Excellence Series, this is the soft skill focus on quality management and soft skills, taught to 900,000 people through online and recorded YouTubes in 50 educational institutes in 14 states. The links are shown here. Now, this particular slide tells us that the road to success is not crowded because most people are looking for ways to take. The truly successful people are finding ways to give. So with a giving attitude, every situation is an opportunity for success. So I think if we are a good leader, our obligation is to give back to the society, because we get so much from the society, and our success is not ours only. It is because of the mentorship and support from many other people we achieve the success. So we need to do that for others as well. A leader is the one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Beautiful quote from famous author John C. Maxwell. We are going to skip this in the interest of time. 7 leadership principles from the life of an eagle. Now, this is very interesting. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are already a leader. Very quickly, this is the World Economic Forum Future of Job Reports 2022. What 10 skills are necessary for people to succeed in a global level? The items, 4 of them are color-coded, repeating from 2020. Now, if you quickly look at the left column, Most of these areas are not covered in the curriculum at the colleges and the universities. So when students graduate, they do not have the right skills needed by the workplace. So they are not able to hit the ground running. So it will be very important to incorporate these areas into the curriculum so they are ready to give their full services and become effective from day one. Very quickly on the importance of soft skills. All the surveys point to more than 90% of the executives say soft skills are more important than the hard or the technical skills. In Australia, which prides on soft skill in the workforce, they say 2/3 of all the jobs will rely on soft skill by 2030. In US, 44% US executives say soft skill is the biggest gap in the US workforce. And the last item is ability to work in a team for a new graduate is more important than problem solving and quantitative skills. So I think the real focus should be we need to provide the soft skills in the curriculum so students are efficient and effective in acquiring the soft skills and use them in the workplace. A very important soft skill is the communication. Quickly, the second half of the slide says, no matter what job you have in life, your success will be determined 5% by your academic credential, 15% by your professional experience, but 80% by your communication skills. And along with the communication, other soft skills, the leadership, decision-making, time management, teamwork, project management are important. You need to improve upon verbal, written, and presentation skills throughout the life. So here is a triangle of success, which says we need to acquire knowledge for which we go to the colleges and university, including University of Newcastle. Skills we need to work on to build it up, and the attitudes, the most important attributes for success: self-motivation, integrity, honesty, optimism, enthusiasm, cooperation, and commitment. Ability is what you are capable of doing. Famous quotes from Lou Holtz, and his YouTube is just coming up quickly. Motivation determines what you do, and attitude determines how well you do it. Now I'm going to play quickly this YouTube, and then Dr. Waikar will come and do the discussion about the next steps in a brief way, and then we'll take the question and answers.
Sound is not coming. On your side, switch on the sound.
Okay. One second, thank you.
Virginia. And I went by where I was born last night, about 10:30. I was born in a cellar at home, delivered by Dr. McGraw. We had one bedroom for my sister, myself, and my parents. We had a half bath and a kitchen. 7.5 years we lived in that place. There was no welfare. There was no food stamps. There was no safety net. But I always had plenty to eat. Because every time I asked for seconds, my dad would say, no, you had plenty. But the reason I was born with a silver spoon, my dad had only gone to the 3rd grade. That's all the education he had. But why was I born with a silver spoon in my mouth? Because I was taught by my parents that life's a matter of making choices, wherever you are, good or bad, because of choices you make. Don't blame anybody else, but if you get an education, you're willing to work and overcome problems and difficulties, in this great country, you can amount to something. That's why I was born with a silver spoon. I was in this country and I was taught personal responsibility for choices you make. When we talk about a commitment to excellence, that's a choice you make. What do you want to do? Having hopes and dreams and ambition. See, I think that is absolutely critical. Don't make the mistake I made. I've done a lot of dumb things, but let me tell you the one thing I regret. We went to the University of Notre Dame. We took a program on the bottom. We took it to the very top. And for 9 straight years, we went to a January 1 bowl, the sugar, the cotton, the orange, or the fiesta. Nobody's done it before. Nobody's done it since. We put it on top and we maintained it. And that's the thing I regret the most. See, there's a rule in life, but then you're either growing or you're dying. The tree's either growing or it's dying. So's grass, so's a marriage, so's a business, so's a person. Doesn't have a thing to do with age. My birthday candles cost more than a cake. But it has everything to do. Am I trying to get better? Am I trying to prove we got on top and say, you know, this is pretty good. Let's maintain it. Let's not take any risk. We finished second in the country at Notre Dame. Everybody called me an idiot. Guy finishes last in medical school. They call him doctor. That doesn't seem fair. When I left Notre Dame, I never thought I'd coach again. Where'd you go from Notre Dame? According to my mother, you go directly to heaven, you sit by the Pope. You don't coach anymore. And then I went to live in a town where the average age was deceased. And what I found out, I wasn't tired of coaching. You have to have something to hope for, something to dream. And even though you've done great things so far, what's going to happen now? I want to give you a simple plan. Life doesn't have to be complicated. I try to keep life simple. Do you realize there are only 7 colors of the rainbow? Only 7. Look what Michelangelo did with those 7 colors. There's only 7 musical notes. Look what Beethoven did with those 7 notes. There's only 10 numbers. Look what Bernie Madoff did with those 10 numbers. The point I make is it doesn't have to be complicated. See, you need 4 things in your life. If you don't have any of these 4 things in your life, you're going to have a tremendous void. See, everybody needs something to do. Number 2, everybody needs someone to love. Number 3, everybody needs someone to believe in. In my case, is Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. But the 4th thing you need in your life is you need something to hope for. There's never a right time to do the wrong thing. And there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. Just do what's right. I think it's right to be honest, right to be on time. See, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy life. Have fun. You're going to have problems. You're going to have difficulties. That's part of life. And don't tell people about your problems. Do you know that 90% of the people don't care? And the other 10% are glad you got them. So you're better off keeping yourself. You're going to have problems. But have fun with what you're doing. People say, did you have fun doing the ESPN? Not really. Because if you have fun being here, people have fun being around. Doesn't mean I don't do dumb things. And sometimes I wasn't real honest. Do everything to the best of your ability with time allotted. You know, ladies and gentlemen, not all of us be All-American. Not everybody can be first team. Everybody can be the best you're capable of being. And I want to tell you, if you want to fail, you have the right to fail. That's what's great about this country. You do not have the right to cause other people to fail because you don't do everything best of your ability. When you join a spouse, you bring a child in the world, you join a business, you join a team. You have obligation, responsibilities, and you owe it to other people to do the maximum you can at each and everything you do. It's not complicated. And the last rule, to show people you care. And you walk in the room, your attitude, hey, here I am, look at me. It's like, no. Your attitude, there you are, how can I help you? I wish I knew those 3 rules when I was 21. I've used them for the last 40 years. There's a statue of me at Notre Dame. I guess they need a place for the pigeons to land, but if you go look at it, just don't look at 3 words on the pedestal. Trust, commitment, love.
Give me 1 second. I'll go back and take it over from the point we were in. Okay, so at least the first part we want to finish, that is leadership is all about influencing, igniting, and inspiring ordinary people to do extraordinary things. Now, in next couple of minutes, Dr. Waikar will help us with potential collaborations. Did we lose him?
Hey, thank you, Professor Vora, for this nice culmination with that video. Very quickly now, I think we have shared with you what we have got information with you. Now, we are in the process of collaboration, and we'll be very happy to offer a management development program on excellence in leadership. We can start with the faculty development program. Also, for the applied research in leadership excellence. Now, how we can use whatever we have just shared with you in infusing and mapping of the proposed attributes for enhancing the individual and organizational performance. I think Dr. Manu Varo is one of the excellent expert in that, how you can enhance the organizational performance. And also, we would like to also help you by taking the executive coaching and mentorship. So this program will be very happy to work with University of Newcastle to develop together and offer to whosoever is interested in. Okay, whosoever is interested in, I think please contact University of Newcastle, Professor Sally, and we'll be happy to work with you on that. Next one, please. Now, what is it inside this one? Okay, we are just calling this one MDP program, leading talented people for peak performance. Whatever you learn over here, I think we'll be focusing on that. And at the end of this, MDP participants should have enhanced knowledge and skills in the field of talent development and leadership. Okay, you have seen it. Okay, both of us will be there. And leading from front will be Professor Manu Varo on this one. Strengthen the people and situation-centric leadership approaches. How? Because there are so many models are there, but which one to pick up, which attributes to pick up properly and apply to the current scenario or challenges we are facing. Infuse resilience for overcoming challenges. And most importantly, smartly leverage with the collaborative mindset. I think all the time you have been hearing Professor Manu Varo telling you collaboration, okay, leading by example. That is what we will now take you through this program, leading talented people for peak performance. I think we'll be discussing with the professor from Newcastle University, and we'll be happy to assist you in that. Thank you very much. And back to Professor Manu Varo and Professor Sally now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Vora and Professor Waikar, for the excellent and inspiring presentation. And I truly agree that a world-class leader, an inspirational leader is to influence, elect, and inspiring the follower and the employee that they grow and be a better person. Yeah. And now we have time for questions and discussion. For those of you who would like to ask questions, please write it down on the chat, and I will moderate the question and ask. Yeah. And while you are writing your question, there is a question already on the chat that, in fact, an hour earlier, is about the leadership. And the question is, how leadership personality would influence the approach in decision making? I don't know whether Professor Vora would like to start.
Yeah. So I think it doesn't depend on the personality, but it depends on the situation. So the leadership calls for action for a given situation. And with the leaders having a tool of various talents and various attributes behind them, they can size up the situation, and based on what is required to be done, tackle the situation at hand, add value, and make sure that the proper solution is provided by engaging people, because see, leaders can't do everything themselves. They need to create a team, put together the right response with the help of people by engaging them. And this way, the people begin to think on their own and allow them to grow. And that is the role of the leadership. It's not doing everything yourself, because that's what the manager will do. Leaders are the one to inspire others to do great things. Yeah, that would be my focus on.
Yeah, so leadership depends on the context and the people. Yeah,
Yes, the
not
situation.
really the personality of the person. Yeah.
Yes.
And okay, so I see there's some comments, not necessarily questions. Yeah. So speaker, they thank the speaker for the very nice presentation, and particular like the way that leadership is being related to culture and principle, and also world-class leader. And I particular sort of very impressed by the relationship or how your presentation relate culture to leadership. Do you have further sort of comment on that?
Thank you.
So Dr. Waikar, do you have any comment on culture and leadership?
Okay, thank you very much. I believe Professor Manu Varo, when he presented various styles of leadership, and when we want to apply, then definitely one of the critical point comes in how we map it, as we do in our education system. Look at the various models, we try to map it into a curriculum, and then which one fits more and which is our cohort, how we relate to that. And that is where the cultural aspect comes in. Multicultural, I think, global phenomena is now, I think we leaders need to be sensitive about it, because one simple statement which is affecting somebody, okay, adverse comment, adverse statement can harm the brand of any company very badly. Okay, and I can tell you this is recent one is what is happening to even very great companies like Tata. Okay, Tata in India, and recently they released one ad which has got, they did not look at it sensitive to it, cultural sensitivity, and honestly they got the backlash. Their intentions were good. They wanted to bring the community together, but the way they put it, probably advertisers sometimes want to sensitize it to promote the product. And that is where if they do not take care of that cultural aspect, multicultural aspect, it can harm your brand. And then after that, if you want to recover from that, it requires more investment. Okay, they had to come up, give clarification and say that, no, we are not like this one, bring out other examples, invest more on that. So if all of us take that step at the beginning before we think about it, that could I think a lot of things could have saved later on. So similar, stitch in time saves 9, or in our power systems we say better take action before the fault gets and damages everyone. So I agree with the commentator, the question who asked it. Yes, cultural aspect is very important.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I fully agree that whatever we do as a leader, yeah, the culture of the context has to be taken into account. Yeah. So there's a question following the culture is related to emotional intelligence. Would you say emotional intelligence has an essential role in leadership development?
Yes, because it's not just the IQ, but the emotional intelligence is equally important. And if the leaders don't have emotional intelligence, they will not be successful. So emotional intelligence, we all need to work on, and that's all about self-awareness, what we are good at, what we are not good at, and then supplement it by bringing new people who are smarter than us. So we should not be afraid of bringing more people who could challenge us, and together we grow as a entity. So emotional intelligence plays a big role in developing the leadership. Yes.
Yeah, I fully agree that as a leader, we have to have the confidence to bring in people better than us in the organization. So
Correct.
they can help to grow the organization. And
Yes.
as a leader, you need to have the confidence yeah, in doing this. Yeah. So
Yes.
for myself, I'm personally very interested in resilience. We always talk about resilience leadership, especially in the face of crisis. Is there any tips that you can provide to the participant on how to build the resilience?
Okay, you go first, Deepak ji.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for this really interesting question, resilience. I think how we prepare somebody for resilience. Probably we had to give them those situation as Professor Vora has mentioned, okay? Put them in the situation when they are in your training program also, if they have put them in a situation wherein they have to face those challenges, cross those hurdles, see themselves, okay? Maybe sending them for the experiential learning all the way. A good example given by Professor Vora was about the New York chief officer, okay, police officer. He was sending the manager right on the ground rather than sitting in the only your office and making a big plans and hoping that somebody will go and implement it. We have to send them there and see it themselves what is happening. That is where that experience will only bring you back. I think then obviously there are many other management games we can take them, like some of them take them for mount climbing or some very tough situations, okay, and experience themselves working in a team and trying to find out the solutions in that. So that could be simulation part in addition to that one, taking them right, giving them experience. What is it on the ground? Okay. If somebody has to plan a metro, better that person go and takes the metro and see what is the public transport is rather than only visiting top cities and then trying to make a plan only. So I fully agree with Professor Vora on that one. Yes, Professor Vora.
Yeah, and I want to add a couple of items. I believe in order to be resilient, we need to have some essential skills as a leaders. One is the most critical one is the understanding of project management, because all the work that gets done in the organization by your people is done through the project management. So you should be proficient in project management so that you do not come out with the esoteric projects, which has no meaning for the customers or the organization. So that's first thing. Secondly, you should provide enough training on the fundamentals of project management to all your people so they can hit the ground running when a difficult challenge comes upon them and able to navigate and be very resilient to attack the problem, answer the issue or the call for the day, handle the projects well within budget, within time, and achieve the performance as required. And along the way, keep in mind that the project means something new you are doing for the first time. That means the risk management component has to be integral part of project management. That discipline is, I'm seeing at least in various parts of the world where I go, lack of project management discipline and lack of focus on risk management is failing the leadership in completing the project. So world over, the research shows only 25 to 30% of the projects are successful, rest are failure. And in the government entity, it's less even. So one specific point I want to make, I was in Egypt on the ground teaching government officers change management program. They say in Egypt, the government projects succeed 1 out of 5, only 20%. So that's a huge loss to the society. And this is where the resilience leadership will come into play. When you empower your people with the right set of tools and knowledge needed to handle any situation given to them. And that's what I think is the order of the day, call for the day.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we always have to empower our employee and our followers. Yeah, so that they got the skills, yeah, and the
Yes.
knowledge, yeah, to tackle any problems, any
Yes.
difficulties, yeah, that face them. Thank you. Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's a question about called LQ, like ability quotient is a new concept mentioned by Jack Ma.
Okay.
Any comment on this one?
Yeah, I think if you are likable, it's a good thing, but it's not necessary. But the thing is, don't be a jerk, right? Pardon my language. So sometimes people who come to the leadership role, they are technically excellent, but they are not very good working with people. Or there could be individual leaders at the lower level who are technically brilliant, but unable to collaborate with others. We call them acidic people. So you need to isolate them and make sure that they don't change the culture of the rest of the organization and the people who are contributing. So likability is good, but again, I think it's the results you deliver as a leader is counts. So I heard today from my friend who used to work for Arthur Andersen, which vanished when the Enron Corporation went down. It took Arthur Andersen, one of the top accounting firm in the world, to close. So it was essentially closed down because of the collusion. He said that they have the execution discipline. They used to get people from all different discipline, different degrees. But once you are in, you have to show the execution. Are you capable of delivering the results needed? And again, the project management discipline, on time, within budget, and achieving the performance required. Otherwise, you are not welcome in the organization. So likability is good. If you are pleasant with others, it's good. Now, one other extreme example is Steve Jobs at Apple. He wasn't likable by most of the people, right? As we all know. But he was a genius. He came out with the number of products which put Apple as #1 company in the world. But I would say one last example I would cite is the Jack Welch from GE. He was known as a neutron Jack, and his philosophy was bottom 10% of the workforce needs to be cut every year. So throughout his tenure, he used to get rid of the last 10% through performance reviews. And as soon as he left, that policy was reversed because that's not very humane. Yeah, so you need to treat people with respect. If they do not work out, give them additional training. Some skills are missing. Maybe they are the misfit for a given job, etc. So you do your best to find the right people first and then continue to empower them by building up their knowledge. So that will be my comment.
Yeah, thank you. So likable is good, but not the most important. Yeah, to be a successful leader. Yeah,
Right.
a successful leader has to know how to empower people. Yeah,
Yes.
and get them to the right skills and knowledge. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. So a question about the COVID-19. So is that companies sort of lay off staff and during this crisis time? So any comments on that?
Dr. Waikar, you go first. I'll give my perspective after that.
Okay, I think I know this is a very tough time. It is not only for the employees, even for the top management also not easy. There are many places I do know that people are working without pay for 6 months or so, and only with the hope that things will turn around. And management, top leadership are saying, okay, we have gone through tough time in the past, and we'll overcome that. But at this time, revenues are not coming. There is a shortage of funds. Whatever resource is not there, that is back. Okay, and they say, okay, now we have few options either. And as Professor Vora has mentioned rightly, how we do it humanly. Yes, if survival of your company is at stake, and then how you can do it best first, because and as such, if you look at it, before this pandemic, science were also there from other crises also. We had a climate crisis. We are facing that challenge. We had Industry 4 revolution. At that time also, there were science. They were saying, hey, now requirement of employees will be reduced, or more automation is coming. And therefore, we had trained, retrained, allow them to find the new opportunities. Now, that is where the leadership will come now, okay? That how you are going to balance that and do it. If you are going to do it humanly, if it is a worst case means survival, then do it humanly, lay off. Okay. If not, give them options, flexible one, and maybe at present you work as the team. And this is also time to look for entrepreneurial spirit. Okay. Maybe this is time they can think based on that. Okay. Entrepreneurs means if you get the job done, you are paid. Till that time, you're not paid. Starters are almost like that only. So maybe that kind of thing we may have to bring in now. Okay, guys, you have some skills you have got developed. We are with us. Come up with some new idea if we can implement it during such tough time. And from that, if we can get a revenue, we are ready to share. We'll provide you that whatever kind of support needed. That kind of things they may have to use it as rightly said by Professor Vora, but emotional aspect. Okay, so that will be my suggestion. And I have already mentioned that now this time is tough. That is why that 5 warrior model is needed. We have to now fight. Fighting is the first one. And once we survive, then we can strive. Okay.
Yeah, and the other aspect to look at it is disparity among the compensation for the top leaders versus the workers. So when the times are tough, I've seen some companies here where the leaders are enlightened. They will take the pay cut for themselves first, and they will take a minimum salary, and whatever money is saved, give it to the people who are struggling to get the bread on the table. So that kind of family approach, so you treat your people like a family and take care of them in bad times. They will be so loyal when the business cycle is on the upswing, and when we are post-COVID and situation begins to turn around. At that time, they will be very, very loyal to do the best to achieve the great things for the organization. So when times are tough, regroup as a family rather than lay off people and get rid of them, because that talent you lay off will never come back, because they have so much knowledge about the work, so much knowledge and history about the workplace. You are losing it for good. Instead, make ways to hold on to them by becoming like a member of the family, because you don't turn the family down, right? When times are tough, everybody sort of becomes lean and try to share the resources properly so that everybody benefits. That would be my take.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we have to find innovative way to see how an organization can group and regroup, and to find way that we can keep all the talents, yeah, in the organization. Yeah, so that is a really important role of a leader. Yeah.
Yes.
Because of the time, I have to close the Q&A session, and we have a very productive 2 hours discussing leadership style, leadership model, and also what it makes a good leader, and the factors affecting our leadership style, and also the current environment. And once again, I would like to thank Dr. Manu Varo and Dr. Deepak Waikar for your generous sharing. And it is wonderful to learn from world-class leaders. And I personally learned a lot, yeah, about leadership style and what is the main factor for being a good leader. So I learned a lot and benefit a lot. And I hope all the participants also learn and benefit from this 2 hours session. Yeah, and maybe I hand over the time to Michelle for her to say a final word for this webinar. So over to you, Michelle.
Right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Prof. Sally. Thank you, Dr. Manu, and thank you, Dr. Deepak. So, usually at the end of every, webinar, it's like a tradition, we'll want to take a group photo. So I think for those of, participants, right, who wish to, be in the photograph, to take memories, with our presenters and facilitators. I invite you all to turn on your cameras, and then, and also for logistics wise, right? Because, usually we will give out a certificate of attendance for participants who have stayed throughout this webinar. So we will actually be sending you a survey form after this event, and please give us your feedback, and at the same time please confirm the name to be printed on your digital certificate. So okay, whilst we are waiting maybe for a few more of you all who wish to, adjust your hair or
Yeah, don't be
Yeah.
shy.
yeah.
We love to have a photo with all of our participants all over the world.
Okay. Sorry, I know some participants I need to, sorry, give me a minute.
Makeup time.
So happy to see our colleagues from Australian campus as well.
Oh,
Kenny.
that's great. Wow, that's great. I think we are also very fortunate that Professor Sally and Michelle made it happen. And really thankful to all participants who listened to us and gave good feedback about our presentation, as well as asked tough questions. Hopefully we were able to be resilient on answering those questions to bring out our resilience in leadership. Melinda,
Thank you.
still to, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Sally and Michelle, for your kind invite, and look forward to future collaboration with the team there at the University of Newcastle.
Sure. And thank you so much. I think you spent your Sunday night with us, and now it's already Monday early morning. So, yeah.
Yeah, really appreciate. Yeah, you are 12 hours sort of behind us, and it is your evening, and you should retire to bed.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and very delighted to be working with all of you and sharing some thoughts so we can all do better in our life.
I can vouch for that. I think Professor Manu Varo is so kind that he's ready to share. Okay, I have been involved with him. He shares generously. Okay, the kind of information, kind of research he has done, kind of he gets those things simplified. Okay, because I discussed with him, but he can put it in a very simplified way. Even my slides also, when I send it to him, he takes times to adjust and make it better. So he's really what you call is a person who wants to help in our development. And that is a kind of educational leadership I learned from him.
Thank you, Dr. Waikar.
Okay, so I think we will, take the photo now. I think the rest, maybe they a bit shy or they don't want to join us yet. So we'll just take a photo, right? 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, so let me do some QC first. Okay.
Say Newcastle, okay. Everybody say Newcastle, EduEnergy, business excellence.
Okay, yeah. Okay. She say Newcastle.
Newcastle. Yeah.
Newcastle.
All
right.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all. And
yes,
we'll
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Dr.
Thank you,
Vora and Dr.
everyone.
Waikar.
So have a good
thanks
day.
to all the participants.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone,
you.
for joining and appreciate it.
Yes.
Right. Have a good week, everybody.
Yeah. Stay safe. Yeah. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Okay. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay resilient. Okay.
Right.
Bye.
To your excellency. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you from the Philippines.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Philippines.
Mabuhay, right?
All the participants all over the globe. Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Yes. Yeah. Philippines is there. Indonesia is still there. Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody from India still there? Yeah, Balaji. Maybe from Australia is there. Singapore is definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I'll end the meeting.
Yeah, for your great support. Yeah, really appreciate.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.